Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me here today. First Cabral HouseCall of the weekend. Always nice to be able to spend a little time with you here, especially if you're listening live on Saturday when this show is released. Just keep in mind, every single day we release a 20-minute show, right around 20 minutes, sometimes 15, sometimes just a little above 20, but I try to keep it around that mark. I feel it's a good length of time for you to be able to pick up hopefully some nuggets that you're able to digest and then actually be able to implement in your life now or maybe within the next couple of weeks or months. And also for a lot of our integrative health practitioners, it's more knowledge that you'll then be able to translate into, I think, actionable-based protocols for the clients or patients in your practices. So excited to get started. These are real-world questions. These are from real people, literally all around the world, and they come in every single week. This one is from the beginning of December. So again, we're about 10 to 12 weeks out from answering your questions. And, we'll just answer them in the order they come in. So let's dive right in. Let's get to some questions. First question is from Amy. Amy says, thank you for all you do. My son has extreme allergy-induced asthma. I've ordered the allergy protocol and sinus support. However, he cannot swallow pills. I tried mixing in some apple juice, but it tasted really terrible, and he couldn't drink it. He never complains about medicine or supplements. How can I get these supplements in him? Thanks. Yeah. So you have to keep in mind that some products are better in like pomegranate juice or something like that than others. Ones with a lot of herbs or zinc or things like that won't taste as good. So what we do for kids is typically we open them up, we put them in some apple sauce. That typically works much better than a juice. Sometimes we'll mix them in a little bit of yogurt. Sometimes we'll mix them in some like protein pudding. We just take a protein shake, like the daily nutritional support. We use very little water, blend it, you make it like a pudding. It's great for you as well, and the kids can have it. You can mix your supplements in there. And then what was the last one that I was just going to give you? Oh, and then nut butter too. So like some almond butter, if he's able to do that, of course. I mean, if he has allergies or something like that, then obviously that won't work. But those are all the things that we do. And, the other thing is, it's not that we necessarily say it's a good thing to do, but you can always re-encapsulate in smaller capsules if you need to. We use a specific capsule based on the milligrams of the formula, but they sell small capsules. I believe it's a 0. And they make even smaller ones than that you can buy online, and you can actually make very small capsules for kids. And so you could also do that. Take the powder out, re-encapsulate, and do that as well. Just keep in mind, I have no idea how old your son is. Typically by the age of like 5 or 6, kids start to be able to swallow capsules. My daughter's about that age. And how I taught them to was I actually said, take some water in your mouth and float the water in your mouth. Put the water in your mouth and now float the supplement, the capsule, in the water, and then just swallow the water, and the capsule goes down with it. So, of course, they have to be ready for it. Their throats have to be, of course, big enough. So hopefully that's helpful. Those are all things that we do in the community, and they seem to work. And then, of course, your son, they won't need to do the full, 3 capsules of sinus support, right? They would do less. So just keeping that in mind, right? Because we don't do the same serving size for adults as we do children. Okay, typically it's like a third to sometimes half, depending on the weight of the individual. All right, Anonymous is up next. Hi, doctor. I have Candida and bacterial imbalance, and I'm purchasing the CBO protocol. I know that I can get better, but the biggest hurdle in my health journey is that I can't seem to stick to cutting out gluten and dairy permanently. I've had a sort of food addiction since I was a kid, and cutting out sugar in my teens helped quite a bit. Gluten and dairy, lectins in general, give me extreme fatigue, depression, inflammation, and even knowing this, I can't seem to cut them out permanently. I know it's just a habit that I gotta break, but nothing I have tried in the past 20 years has worked. I feel so weak. I keep shopping. I keep going through cycles of cutting it out for like 6 months, and then I see a cookie while shopping, and I'm back to the same problems. I need to get healthier. I need more control. What can I do? Could you please explain to me the link between gut bugs and hair loss? Also, how do I want to avoid getting Candida and SIBO? Again, when eating soluble fiber, healthy sugars like fruit, etc. Okay, we got a lot of questions in there. All right, so let's help you with this. Okay, so first things first. The thing is, if you go every 6 months and you have just gluten, a cookie every 6 months, you have to ask yourself, and again, I'm not one to say, because I don't necessarily know the emotional based issues you might be dealing with. And so, or even food addiction wise, but having, like, let's say for this, let's say once a month, I have, my favorite pasta dish with bread, and maybe I even have a slice of, I don't know, cake and whatever after dinner. Like, let's say I have gelato. It could be anything. These aren't foods that I typically eat. Delicious. I enjoy them. I might have brain fog. I might not feel great afterwards, right? It's a dinner meal. I sleep it off. I'm okay the next day. Do I think that I did something healthy for myself? Am I like, thrilled about it? No, but I'm also not upset. I eat well every meal, and then I have one flex meal a week. So the issue really is if you can't stop then doing that for the next meal, the meal after, and I just talked about this in a podcast, so I'm gonna link it up for you right now. I'm gonna give you the link. It's episode 2560, so literally just last week. Should you do a small daily cheat or a once a week cheat meal? Please do check out this show, because I think it's gonna hold the answer as to what works best for you, okay? Really important to look at that. Now, how does gut bugs lead to hair loss? Well, the bacteria in your gut, or yeast overgrowth, or parasites, it doesn't necessarily, parasites can actually cause hair loss, but it doesn't necessarily directly correlate. What happens is there's inflammation causing all sorts of either high levels of cortisol, stress in the body, or autoimmune-based issues, and then that can cause hair loss. So it's a deeper underlying root cause to inflammation, which could then cause the hair loss, right? Or stress hormones, which could cause the hair loss. I've got a great page for you to check out at stephencabral.com/hair-loss. Completely free. Obviously there's products from like 6 or 7 different companies that I recommend. You don't need to use them all, but it's everything that you could want to learn about hair loss. It really is. It doesn't mean that we've solved hair loss forever. It doesn't mean that, but I can tell you for sure, the information on this page gives you the best option to grow back your hair, stop thinning, etc. Okay. And the last one, how do you avoid getting Candida or bacterial overgrowth when eating fiber, healthy sugars like fruits? Well, the thing is that those don't cause yeast overgrowth, SIBO, etc., if the microbiome is balanced and you're getting it from fruit. So the problem is this. The problem is that we take antibiotics, we drink too much alcohol, we eat improper foods, we've, all sorts of issues, right? Take birth control, there's gallbladder, liver, bile-based issues. And then bacteria starts to overgrow, or yeast starts to overgrow, and then we eat it, and it can't be kept in check because the small intestine isn't as sterile as it should be, and then we get yeast overgrowth, etc. So, I certainly, you don't want to overdo sugar. I'm not saying that at all. I'm talking about like natural fruit. That's what I'm talking about. But that's not going to do it. It's really not. And so I don't want you to have that worry. I think that people who eat a very well-balanced diet, they don't have to worry about this at all after they do the CBO protocol and get their gut back in balance. And of course, do the CBO finisher for the bacteria, etc. All right, Anonymous is up next. Hi, I was wondering, why are bananas on the sensitive gut guide? Well, there we go. This is a CBO question again. Why would they not cause an issue for someone with Candida? A bit confused about what foods are okay while treating Candida. Lots of contradictory info online. LOL. Thanks in advance. All right. This is actually a different individual, even though they're an anonymous. Wow. Okay. Happy to answer this as well. So keep in mind, I've been doing this for a long time. And I had Candida overgrowth, massive Candida overgrowth. I've shared it many times, but maybe you're going through this yourself right now. And so I just want you to know that there's hope. I took antibiotics 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year all through childhood. And then from 14 years old to 17 years old, I took amoxicillin twice a day. I've swallowed over 3,000 capsules of antibiotics during my childhood. It was insane. Nobody knew that there was any repercussions to it except you're killing bacteria, right? Well, the problem was it led to massive SIBO, Candida overgrowth, I ended up with H. pylori for other issues connected to my gut as well. And the yeast was so bad, it grew all the way up into my stomach and into my esophagus. And that's pretty bad. So there wasn't protocols like the CBO protocol back in the day. I learned that through hard trial and error myself and the hardest cases in my practice. And we settled in on the exact CBO protocol we have now about 6 or 7 years ago, and it works phenomenally well. So the sensitive gut guide comes along with it. Just keep in mind, again, like this isn't just willy-nilly choosing foods. And I don't look at anybody who says, contradictory things, whatever it might be. I go by the direct research, right? The direct science, and I'll share that in 1 second, as well as having done this for well over a decade, total time in practice, 22 years, and have seen now over 250,000 people in my practice, 40,000 personally myself. So again, it doesn't mean that you need to trust me implicitly. I never ask for that. I really don't, because I'm going to teach you exactly how to know as to what I'm saying is the truth. The issue with Candida overgrowth and bacterial overgrowth has to do with, now it's not just this, but it's something called fructo, oligo, di, mono, and polysaccharides, okay? This is basically, and most of them are fructans, all right? So it's fructose. So when you look at a banana, you'd say, oh, it's a fruit, it's all sugar. But you have to understand is that the predominance of the sugar is sucrose and glucose, not fructose. So foods and fruits that are higher in fructose than they are glucose or sucrose will actually make their way down to the Candida and the yeast and the bacteria, right? But foods that have more glucose molecules than fructose molecules will shuttle, the glucose molecules will shuttle the fructose molecules out of the gut before they can begin to be really fermented by the yeast. And so hopefully that was helpful. So that, and again, you can just look up, just probably type into Dr. Google, fructose percentage levels in bananas, and I think you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, all right? So hopefully that's helpful. Again, I don't look for blind trust at all. I'm not saying that. I just want you to know that. But I do want you to know that there's a method to all of the madness. And we spend a lot of time, and we've dedicated our life to this, myself and my team. And this is our life. I mean, there's no separation between work life. Like, I love my family and I love my work, and I don't turn one off and I don't turn the other off. It's just, this is what I enjoy doing. And we put a lot of time and effort and care into it because we know how sick people are, and we simply want to help them, right? We've gone through it ourselves. My team everybody on my team for the most part has had their own health challenge, and now it's all about giving back because they've been healed as well. All right, another anonymous question. Nobody wants to leave their name. That's okay. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I wanted to know if it was possible to trigger histamine intolerance, MCAS, when taking antimicrobials and probiotics at the same time. I've tested positive for gut dysbiosis, low secretory IgA, high zonulin, and 6 different types of mycotoxins, low B vitamins and low minerals, no Candida, no H. pylori, and no heavy metals. All right. Well, I totally understand. I had gut dysbiosis. I had a 0 for secretory IgA. How's that? Literally a 0 for immunoglobulin A, which is your first line of defense against viruses and bacteria, et cetera, in your mucous membranes, et cetera. And that's why I was sick all the time as well. I had pneumonia 5 out of 6 winters. That was a brutal time in my 20s, that's for sure. Zonulin, I totally get it. So I understand where you're coming from. I had mold as well. And a lot of these things actually zap your B vitamins and your minerals because those are used under stress and they're used for your immune system. So, you didn't ask how to get well. I understand that. I mean, the biggest thing here is you work the protocols, right? Like, you're going to essentially move through the CBO protocol or the CBO finisher, ideally the CBO protocol, then the CBO finisher, at the same time the mold protocol, using the daily foundational protocol. The issue with the antimicrobials and the probiotics is that both of them have histamines because anything aged, smoked, or fermented will aggravate histamines. So then it's just the degree, right? We just created a new binder called the universal binder. That might be something that's very beneficial for you with all of these issues. You would take it, and that's a low histamine one. You would take that actually away from your antimicrobials and probiotic, but away from food as well. All right, but here's what we want to do. So there are low histamine probiotics out there. We have 3 of them: the clean gut probiotic, the L-acidophilus, which is dairy-free, and the daily probiotic support, specifically developed to be low histamine. Okay, but let me just answer your question kind of from a 30,000-foot view. So it goes back to the rain barrel effect. Hopefully you've read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. That's what this is. So everybody has a histamine tolerance, like literally everybody in the world. But most people never meet their histamine tolerance. They don't fill up that rain barrel, so it doesn't overflow. So for me, like I had mastocytosis, mast cell activation syndrome, however you want to describe it. Massive issues, okay? Very low secretory IgA. I don't produce a lot of DAO genetically in the first place. So even though I've got rid of my allergies, I got rid of all those things, like life is good, but like I still have a rain barrel, right? So like, let's say I go out to dinner and I have this steak. So already we have histamines, but it's been aged for like a decade, let's say. Okay, and then they do like a dry rub on it. So now there's like tons of histamines on it. And then I have that with a glass of red wine. By the end of that meal, I'm probably willing to bet I've got some itchiness in my eyes, right? Like I'm probably not back in the day when my whole face would swell up, but for sure, like there'll be some histamines, right? Because I overflowed that rain barrel. Now, if I did any one of those individually, no big deal. But once you start adding all of them together, it's an issue. So what am I saying for you? Well, let's say you're taking 3 of something like the, like the CBO protocol antimicrobials or the mold antimicrobials. You just do 1 capsule instead of 3. How does that feel? Does it feel okay? Oh, good. How about 2? Does that feel okay? Good. How about 3? 3? No, too much? Okay. We just do 2, right? And then you might do 1 later in the evening instead of them all in the morning. You might just split them up, right? So you don't overflow that rain barrel. Because you need them to be able to fix the gut in the long run, but you can't do them all at once. And then probiotics, most likely it's just too much. So what are you going to do? Well, you'll probably take your probiotic upon waking or before bed. And when I was healing, I always took my probiotic before bed because it would give me a little bit of brain fog. I know I needed the good bacteria, but it would give me some brain fog. So I took it before bed. Antimicrobials can be taken with a meal. And so that's how you can separate them. All right? Hopefully that's helpful. And then definitely get in your daily nutritional support or daily activated multi because, you need those methylated Bs most likely. You need the zinc for all these issues, etc. All right. Well, it looks like that is our time here for today. I appreciate you. I will be back tomorrow answering another 5 to 6 of our community's questions. Again, I appreciate you. I thank you. Have a great start to your weekend, and I'll talk with you soon. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.